Hello again, Pastor Michael Jarboe here. Welcome to another edition of Soul Care, conversations to help renew the spirit. I'm glad you're here. Check out today's episode. Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Soul Care. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Pastor Michael Jarboe, and I am here with many of you just know her as Pastor Cynthia or Cynthia, but she is Bishop Cynthia Harvey, and she is here on Soul Care today. Hello, Bishop. How are you today?
I'm just great. I'm so excited to be here, but I just don't think it's fair that I follow Juanita Rest. I think you really, Michael, thanks a lot.
Forgive me. And she would take that as a compliment. She was awesome, but this is gonna be awesome. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this, and thank you. I know you have a busy schedule. For those of you who don't know, she has a little Post-it note. Can you show the Post-it note really quick? It's your cheat sheet for the times around the world, so you know how to Zoom call people.
No, I don't know. It's 13 hours later in the Philippines, so they probably won't be watching because it'd be like, middle of the night for them. But anyhow, it's you just have to be conscious of time.
The Congo audience for Soul Care it needs to pick up, so we'll try to air this at the right time.
All right, I'll make sure that Bishop Monday knows to tune in.
Perfect. Hey, can you go ahead and just give us a little bit of introduction? And many people do know you. Some might who are checking in. Will you share a little bit of your story of how you became? And I didn't mention you are the bishop of the Louisiana Annual Conference and also the president of the Council of Bishops. Would you mind just sharing a little brief moment of your story, and then maybe tag on a memory of MDUMC that you cherish in your heart?
Great. No, it is really great to be with you. And Memorial Drive has changed a lot since I was there. So there are people that don't know who Cynthia Harvey is from The Man on the Moon. So I get it. I actually went to Memorial Drive in 1996. And had just an incredible ministry there. Started with Dr. Craig, transitioned to Chuck Simmons, and then went from there to the annual conference as a director of missional excellence. From there, I went to New York. I was in Manhattan as the head of UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief, and was elected a bishop while serving at UMCOR and assigned to Louisiana in 2012, which being assigned to Louisiana with disaster response experience is probably, it's a God thing. Those folk knew what they were doing. I moved here in 2012 on the heels of Hurricane Isaac. I actually followed the Red Cross disaster truck across the Mississippi River Bridge. And since then, this has been my daily bread. So I'm thankful, first of all, I'll just say this while I'm here, is thankful to the Texas Annual Conference for the response to Hurricane Laura that just really impacted Lake Charles in terrible, terrible ways. I was just talking to one of our pastors there, and they're slowly starting to get power back in certain areas. But they've been without power, water, natural gas, nothing for weeks now. But the Texas Conference has responded in great ways, and I'm thankful. So thank you, Texas Conference. Thank you, Memorial Drive. Thank you. I will just say the journey's going to be long for us. I've seen a lot of disasters in my time, and this might be among the worst that I have seen. There's places where things are down to the slab, where things are just wiped out. It was like the biggest tornado you can imagine. Not a lot of water, which is a kind of a different hurricane for us. Not a lot of mucking out, not a lot of mud, but a lot of debris. So we're thinking this is going to be years in the recovery process, and I'm unashamedly going to say you can go to la-umc.org and give. Yeah. There's a giant button there, and we promise to be good stewards of the gifts that we receive, and because the needs change every day. Right. That's what you learn, and you all learned this after Harvey. Terrible name for a hurricane, by the way, Harvey.
Yes.
Anyhow,
Correct.
the needs change every day. So by sharing financial resources with the conference, we can deploy that in ways that meet the needs of the people at the time when it's needed most. But I had 12 years at Memorial Drive that shaped me and formed me in incredible ways. I really thought I would retire there. Don't tell Brad that. Don't tell anybody that. I really, I didn't want the bishop to know who I was because I was perfectly happy there. And it just is a place that shaped and formed me. And there was a group of us that led, my internet sometimes goes unstable.
You're okay.
We led a Bible study every Wednesday called Books of the Bible.
Okay.
Bob, it was called, and it started with women, and then it grew, and it was sort of our answer to some other Bible studies that were happening around the city, and those women helped me raise my daughter. I mean, they would give me the best advice, the day where, I've got to have a cell phone, and these, moms, now grandmothers and great grandmothers would just sort of set me aside and say, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. So, the Jane Field camps of the world,
wow.
Those kind of women that were just there for me at times where I just really needed it, and still are, I would say. Yeah. Karen Ward, I mean, I'm going to leave somebody else. I'm going to stop naming names. But those are women who shaped and formed me to this very day. There was one incident in one of those Bob moments where I would do like an overview of what we would be studying for the day, and then they'd break out into small groups. And there was a woman, and I'm not going to mention her name, who came up to me and said, I disagree with everything you just said, but I loved the way you said it. And I've used that so many times because sometimes we don't have to agree, right? But she said, I love you and I love the way you said it. And we'd hug one another and off we would go. So there were those moments that I think for me as a pastor, now as a bishop, that were formative. And they just happened one after another. Those amazing women that were the wedding guild. Oh my goodness, boy, they ruled with a steel magnolia of an iron fist. But they were beautiful people who really cared and loved the church. Yeah. And it was a church that cared about the community it lives in. It's a church that really believes it is the town square, if you will, of that part of Memorial. And I pray that it's that for a very, very long time. It's just, I know these people around here probably get tired of me using it as an example, so I'll just say sometimes something like, a church I once served, because they hear me talk about MDUMC all the time. Yeah.
Well, that's special. It gives me goosebumps, just like you naming people's names and naming different things apart, and even just me hearing even the stories of Bob. Just the fact that we share similar stories, and that's the connectional beauty of our denomination. That is, is why both of us are here.
Right. Well, I think that's what sustains us.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it really is what sustains me. Certainly, especially in times like this. When I run out of energy, I can go borrow it from somebody else. Oh. And, it just is sustaining to know that I'm just a little drop in a big bucket here. And so there are to talk about the body of Christ in these times is probably the most important image that I have, because what happens in Houston is felt in Louisiana and vice versa. And that's what it means to be a people of the connection.
Mm. Oh, okay. So I think that transitions us beautifully to the first question I want to ask you. Thank you for those little moments about MDUMC. That's really special, and the people who hear it will cherish it for sure. So these times obviously are wild. You and I spent the first 5 or 6 minutes just like looking and shaking our heads at each other because it's just it's 2020 and it's wild, and we're all doing our best right now. But I just want to kind of know from your perspective as a bishop, Methodist Church, and just even as a pastor and as a person of faith, why do you think self-care is so important? This thing is called soul care, and why do you think self-care is so important in days like to this? And maybe even share a little bit of the things that you do for your own self-care during this time.
Well, I can't care for anybody else unless I care for myself. And pastors are the worst, by the way. We always do for everybody else and don't do for ourselves, and guilty as charged. My day, especially during this COVID time where I've been at home, working from home most of the time, our offices are closed or limited in our access and such. I've created sort of this ritual for myself, or liturgy, I don't know what I'd call it, but every day I come in and I light a candle and I pray the prayer from 2 Timothy, give me a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and sound mind. And then I add to it and whatever else I need today. Like, what about a little humility, a little grace, a little perseverance, some stamina.
Yeah.
And I begin my day, come Holy Spirit, come. Give me a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and sound mind and grace and humility. And I just run through a list of what I think I'm going to need for this day. One gift that I think has come for me in this time is when I am working at home, I can more easily push away from the desk and say, I'm going to go for a walk. Now I know I can do that when I don't know what happened.
You're so good.
Okay. I can push away from the desk and go for a walk. I know I can do that when I'm downtown in my office, but it's a lot harder,
right?
I think, to do that. Or in my case, going in and having lunch with my spouse. We don't get to do that other times. So I think being okay with taking that moment of saying, I'm just going to step away from this for a little while. Right. I took some time away for a weekend and I needed 5 more days. And one of my superintendents said, you have my permission to take another 5 days. Thank you so much. But you've got to be willing to say, I've hit that wall. Because one thing I learned is when I get tired, I make stupid mistakes. I know this from athletes. Having had a daughter who was an athlete, a lot of soccer games are lost in the 90th minute. Right. Because you're tired. And so I'm trying very hard. So taking care of yourself, and looking for someone that can be your listening ear. They don't have to say a word, but somebody to accompany you on the journey. And I have several of those people that I know that I can call and say, okay, I think I just did this, and I think I just made like the biggest mistake on the planet. Help me. I'm excited because, something's just happened, but having people to walk alongside, accompany us on this journey. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to walk away for a moment. It's okay to go for a walk or a run or whatever it is that feeds your soul. This is too hard right now. Our pastors especially, and our lay people, you're having to learn how to do this work differently every single day. What you learned yesterday doesn't even apply to today, right?
No, exactly, right.
And I was saying to someone earlier today that I have a pastor that worked for the CDC. And, at some point people were complaining, the CDC changed their mind again. And she said something to me that's incredibly profound, and I just keep thinking about this in application to our ministry, that the CDC does their work based on research and data. So they research, they learn something new today that's going to impact a decision they'll make tomorrow that might look like they changed their mind, but it's because they have new information. So for us, we're doing what we learn we're doing today something based on what we know right now, that could be irrelevant tomorrow, right? So I think that giving ourselves sort of permission to, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to make a mistake. We're all learning. We're building the bridge while we're walking, flying the plane, or while we're flying, building the plane while we're flying. All of those metaphors, we're doing that every single day. So give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. It's okay to make a mistake. And, you know, I think about that. What I learned yesterday informs me for what I'm going to do today. I had a call from a New York Times reporter a couple of weeks ago, asking about like online communion or something. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's like so yesterday. It's like, that's, you know, whether you do it or you not do it or whatever. That was a discussion for weeks ago. Now we're in a different place. Now we're trying to figure out how we show up for football at LSU at Tiger Stadium, you know? So it is every day you learn something new that informs the decisions you're going to make today. And you make the best decision you can with the information that you have at the moment. And it could be a wrong decision.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. So I think for me, giving myself a break from the work, and giving myself a break from not being able to I don't know everything. Pastors, you know, it's like, oh, just tell us what to do. I don't know. I've never done this in a pandemic.
We didn't study this in seminary, did we?
No, or either that or I missed the class. So I think that for self-care, I would say, give yourself some grace, because sometimes nobody else is going to do it. And some people think you're just sitting around waiting for somebody, you know, twirling your thumbs. They already thought that pastors only worked on Sunday. And now, because the office is closed, golly, what are you doing those other 6 days a week, right?
Stop reading my mind. Stop reading my mind, Bishop.
There's a lot. I mean, we're doing more work that I don't know about you, Michael. I'm working harder than I've ever worked in my life.
Ever.
And I've worked hard all my life. So.
I keep thinking you answered about 3 or 4 of my questions with one, because that's Bishop Harvey for you. But it was just so good. I just think like we're constantly living in the 90th minute of the game. Mm-hmm. And then I read an article about like the study on decision fatigue. We are making, you know, even like what orange we pick out from the big pile of oranges while we have our mask and glove on. So we're not picking like, the ripple effect of this is so exhausting. And so to hear you just like, yeah, we've got to give ourselves permission and grace. That alone is self-care. Right.
And I don't know if you've experienced this, but as much as I need to give it to myself, I think that people are much more forgiving right now than they might have been in other times. I do think that, but you know, if we don't give ourselves permission, you know, I think people smell that 1,000 miles away when we're reluctant. But I think that people are okay saying, you know, gee, I'm doing this new myself. I don't know how to do this. And you're right. Which orange you pick off out of the pile, or I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've forgotten my mask and I go into a store and everybody's giving you dirty looks. I'm like, how are they so cranky? And then I realize, oh my God, you know, so I go get my mask really quick. Or the other thing I don't like is that I can't see people smile. So I over exaggerate, you know, my eyes, my hands, or something to say I'm really smiling behind this.
I really am.
I really am. But I just think right now we have more permission to try new things. If you've ever wanted to be creative and innovative, I'd say to take advantage of this time, because we're all having to do that. And it's life-giving to be creative.
Yes. That's the unique thing. You know, I was going to ask you the question, you know, what has quarantine taught you about yourself? And for me, it's innovation gives me life.
Yeah. Yeah, I've learned that creativity, and in a strange, maybe twisted kind of way, this is very energizing for me.
Okay.
I am a creative person that likes to try new things, and that's hard in a church. It does. We're not very. We prefer convergence versus divergence. So to try new things, to experiment. I've been on more calls with creative people, people that just help me think differently. That's been, if anything's been life-giving during this quarantine time, that has been one of those things. Is I feel like I have been able to try new things, be more creative than we've ever been, done things differently, because the time calls for it. The time just basically calls for us to, we don't have a choice.
Right.
I mean, think about I don't know how it happened for you at Memorial Drive, but for our churches, they learned like on a Wednesday or Thursday that Sunday we were closed. So in their churches, there are people that don't know where the live button is on their Facebook, account or anything. So you became a televangelist overnight, right? You had to adjust everything in about 2 or 3 days. And I loved watching those little first rickety, hold my cell phone, sit outside, devotionals, and that. Now we're getting sophisticated. I see lights and all kinds of things.
Oh,
but
yeah.
At first, we were like all flying by the seat of our pants. And I really kind of like that organicness of those first few Bible studies and worship. Now we kind of slicked it up a little bit in a lot of places, and and I've preached in more places. I preached in Singapore last Sunday for their general conference for their opening.
Wow.
I preached at the Foundry in Washington D.C. a few weeks ago, using Zoom, using some other kind of platform. I mean, I think it's just been kind of exciting to try. I hope we don't go backwards.
Ooh.
People talk about, when we're back to normal. That wasn't normal, friends. I don't know what you thought that was. That was not normal. If we thought decline in the church and we thought all of that was normal, we got other serious conversations we need to have. I would rather us, just keep doing some of these things and continue to innovate and create. And God's doing a new thing. I love Isaiah 43. Can you not perceive it? Some days God and I have to have a conversation because I can't see it. I don't perceive it. I don't see it. I don't hear it. I don't smell it. But I know that God is trying to do a new thing with us, and we just gotta, put a foot in front of the other and just keep trying some new stuff.
Bishop, let the record show that both you and Pastor Juanita Rasmus quoted Isaiah 43.
Well, there you go, Juanita. Maybe Juanita and I should be together on one of your podcasts. Now that would be fun.
Okay, you heard it here first, friends. That was stated. That has been shared. That would be the ultimate. There would be no more soul care after that one. I wish I could be half of Juanita Rasmus. So thank you. Awesome. Okay, let me ask you one question, then we're going to get to the speed round here. We always ask everyone we interview, thank you first off so much for your time. We always ask the question that John Wesley was known for asking his fellow pastors. The question, it wasn't how are you doing, but the question was, how is it with your soul? And so it's sort of cool for me to ask a bishop of the Methodist Church, but Bishop Harvey, how is it with your soul today?
Today, my soul is good. Most days, my soul is good. Some days, my soul is weary. Some days, I am weary. We think about all the things that we are facing all at one time. Any one of these things could have set us off our rails, right? So you have a pandemic. You have an economic crisis. You have an ecclesiological crisis. And so for many of us, we're having a theological crisis. We have a racism crisis.
Yeah.
We have weather crisis. Anyone, and probably left off 3 or 4 or 15 of them, but any one of those things would have been enough.
Right.
We're dealing with all of that at one time. And I have a dear friend that talks about, having a container that can hold all of this. There are days that, my container can't hold it all. And so those are the days that my soul is weary. My soul, it's just a lot. It is a lot. And I think the expectations are pretty, if not the church, then who's going to respond to some of these things? So I would say that my soul does grow weary at times. But even in times when I talk to a pastor that doesn't have electricity, it doesn't take me long in that conversation to understand that there's great power. That there's power in the connection, that there's power in our conversation, that there's power within us for transformation. There's power because of the power of the Holy Spirit. We can do some things that when our soul is weary, the Holy Spirit kicks in, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I guess those are those times that I live in a conundrum that it's like, okay, I'm tired. I'm physically tired. I'm spiritually tired. I'm tired. And then I have a conversation that's so filled with power that it overcomes all that weariness. And, electricity or no electricity, water or no water, pandemic or no pandemic, the power of the Holy Spirit cannot be squelched. It just can't. There is light and darkness. And I think that's what gives me the energy each and every day to say, okay, we can do this today. We can do this again. And so I would say my soul, I have to go sometimes look for places to refill, and as I said earlier, sometimes that means stepping away and stepping into the Word, stepping into some reading, and just really caring for myself. Yeah. And then calling those people who care about me. Yeah. When I don't have the energy to even care about me, I'll find some, I'll call a friend. Yeah. Phone a friend. Phone a friend that can give me that life-giving power that I need at the moment. So, yeah, like a giant extension cord is what I say. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for your vulnerability on that question and your honesty, and it is refreshing to hear as a pastor and as a person whose faith is deeply connected. And I love that line about the power might be out at houses, but the power of the Holy Spirit can't be squelched. So nope. We hold on to that hope. Thank you for saying that. Okay, you've made it through the first 4 or 5. Well, you made it through 3 questions, but you kind of answered all 5 of my questions. Okay. That was awesome. So now I've got, take a sip of water, get ready.
I'm ready.
This is the Rapid 11 question speed round. All right, I'm going to ask you these questions. Answer them as quick or as long as you'd like to. Question number 1, Bishop Cynthia Harvey, fill in the blank. Ministry is
hard. Harder than it's ever been. But more life-giving than it's ever been also. But it is hard. It is hard. Hard work.
You're called to be brave, but you have this real fear that begins to kind of well up within you. What's the first thing that you do?
Face your fears. That's something that we taught our child, and just face your fears. May not be able to solve it, but just take a step, face your fears.
Question 3, what's something people get wrong about Bishop Cynthia Harvey?
This one's harder. I think a lot of people don't know where I come from. And I remind people that I come from El Barrio. I come from the place that was, quote unquote, the wrong side of the tracks. I've had to work really, really hard, harder than probably my counterparts. And so I don't know that people get that about me, which also explains probably my relentlessness. I am relentless when I am convicted. I think people who know me know that. If I am convicted and I believe in something or somebody, I am relentless. I will not give it up. And that could be a bad thing too, just saying. Some people would say that I'm stubborn, and that, yes, maybe. But if it's something that I believe in truly, I am relentless. I'm also a connector. I love that idea of connecting people and passions and love for one another. So I'm a connector. I don't know if people know that about me, but that is probably one of my drivers, is that I love to connect people together for greater things. And that's maybe transformation is probably what comes out of that. But I am a pretty relentless person when I believe in something.
That's good. Okay. Question number 4. Last TV show you binged and loved.
I don't watch much television. I'm sorry. The TV might be on, but I'm not watching. You know, I might have watched every Big Bang Theory episode that exists, but I'm not a binge watcher. I don't have the patience to sit and watch something for hours.
You and I are in the same boat. I had a hard time answering that question too. So well done. I'm with you. And Big Bang Theory is a great TV show. All right. What is your favorite movie? I gotta know. I don't know the answer to this. What's your favorite movie?
You're gonna laugh.
Okay.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Stop it. I couldn't. Okay. Wow.
Donkashang. You know, I just find myself in that parade, and
Oh my, the joy. Yeah.
I just Ferris, and I'm not a big movie goer either, by the way, because for me to sit for 2 hours and pay big money, it's like, no, I'd rather go buy a pair of shoes. So, don't make me sit for 2 hours and spend $15 and, $20 worth of popcorn.
That's right.
I'd rather go buy a pair of shoes. So.
What is a concert that you'll never forget?
I'm not a concert goer either.
Okay. That's fine.
I live a boring life, Michael.
No, you don't. It's probably the chancel choir here at MDUMC.
It was. Tell Ann Abels it was.
I will.
It was the Messiah. That was it.
Okay. See, there you go. I just need a little nudging there, and then you got it. Perfect. All right. What are you reading right now? And you probably are reading a bunch. Just share maybe something at the top of the list.
I actually read a lot of things at one time because of my attention span. And I like to be reading something that's good for me and something that's absolutely mindless. So I'll start with the mindless. I'm reading Ruth Ware's One by One, just Girl in Cabin 10 or whatever that one was called, just sort of mindless kind of thing. Of course, How to Be an Anti-Racist, White Fragility. N.T. Wright just came out with a book called God in the Pandemic. Yep. It's a little book, taking a look at that. Agile, which is interesting. It's written, I think it's an Army general, that there are times, we talk about being flexible and being nimble. For me, anyway, there's a difference in being nimble and flexible and being agile, because when you're agile, you got to be pretty quick. A great basketball player, sorry for all the sports analogies, but that's the world I communicate in. Being agile, it means quickness. Right. So that was really a good book. Started a new one called Life is in the Transitions. It's he wrote a book, Council of Dads, that turned into a television show. Okay. And it really is talking about the skills to manage life transitions. and how quick and how many life transitions most of us are facing, and they're coming pretty fast.
Yep.
So it's interesting, good start. Anyhow, life is in the transition. So it's, a lot of people have recommended it, and Caste, if you haven't read Caste. And it also has to do with the establishment and history of the caste system basically in America, and racism and its impact on all of us. So those are just...
That's a good book list. Okay. I think people are writing that down as we speak. So thank you for sharing that. Very good.
Sure.
All right. Question number 8. What's on your bedside table right now?
Alexa.
Me too.
Every morning. I actually went and looked when I saw this question that I knew you were going to ask. A photo of my daughter. It's pretty simple, a lamp, and a book that one of my wonderful members of my cabinet gave me to bless the space between us. It's poetry by John O'Donohue, Irish writer.
It's one of my all-time favorites. All-time favorites.
Yeah, and I just keep it by my bedside, and when each night I try to read something from it when I can't sleep, but it sits by my bedside table, mostly a reminder too of just the title of blessing the space between us. Yep.
Give me a snapshot of a moment in your life that brings you joy.
Being with my family. I mean, there's nothing, if my daughter is with us and the three of, she'll be 30 soon, but still to this day, if the three of us can just be sitting on the sofa watching TV, that is, to me, that's perfection. That is perfection. And I miss her dearly. I mean, being far away from family is very, very hard. And so any moment that I get to have that kind of time with her is a gift.
Question number 10, tell me one thing you're deeply grateful for right now.
Probably the same answer. My family, my health.
Yeah.
I'm staying healthy and trying to walk 6 miles a day.
Wow.
And, working out and doing those things. So that, and I would just say, during this COVID time too, having spent as much time with my spouse as I have, I love that guy.
He's a good man.
Yeah, and I don't know, that's for some people, this COVID time's not been as blessed as I have been. So I recognize that it's hard for families. But knowing that we're on this journey together, wherever it takes us, and his patience, he didn't marry a preacher. So this is all, and certainly didn't marry a bishop. So we just had our 39th wedding anniversary. Wow. And, he truly is a gift from God, and I can't imagine life without him. So I love that guy, Dean Harvey.
That's a good answer. All right, you've reached the end. One more question. When our time here on earth is done, what do you hope is the first thing that God says when you reach heaven?
Rest. Take a break. I got this now. I always say that I'll sleep later. There's just too much to do. And I think when I get there, God's going to say, okay, I got this here. You can just rest, sit down, take it easy. Although I do love that affirmation of work worth finishing in heaven. So I'm still guessing there's going to be work for me to do, but maybe not the pace. And I just think God's going to say, look, well done, have a seat. I've had it all along. Now just watch me. Just watch me. So maybe.
That's good. That's so good. Bishop Cynthia Harvey, thank you so much for your time today. This has been life-giving, and it's not just for me, but for those who will watch. And so Just again, thank you for joining us on Soul Care, and blessings to you.
Thank you, and special thanks to what I still call my Memorial Drive family. Thank you. I'm grateful.
And we're proud of you. So take care.
All right. Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out Soul Care. Join us again next week at noon on Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.